be, okay? I know you guys were literally on the edge of your seats thinking about, is the rate going to change? I'm over here like Jerome Powell. Good afternoon. After further discussion with the Open Market Committee, a rate change of, basis points was going to come, is going to explode. But yeah, no, staying. This is we're going to keep our rate the same. We're going to keep our rate the same. And guys, do you know how crazy it is that we're even able to say this? Do you guys know how crazy it is? I'm going to tell you how crazy it is. I'm going to tell you guys how crazy it is. We're still expanding our fucking total supply at 0.7 daily. It's still 0.7 daily. Do you guys want to know the math of like what this is over like a year? I'm going to tell you guys what it is. I'm going to tell you, okay? I'm going to actually pull it up. I'm going to pull it up on the old computer door. And let's maximize this. So if I were to, let's see if I have see if I can go to scientific. If I were to, for instance, do 1.007 to the power of 365, do you guys see that right there? This is, do you guys know what that annually is? This is a 1,275% annual supply expansion rate. Does that make sense? Annual. Pega, I literally I don't even think of that. Yeah. Because again, there's a lot of weird stuff happening with the fact that there was flogging. Pega, I don't think that the channelers are consistent enough yet to figure out where they have their own fucking I'm not even worried about that. Yeah, because again, not gonna get started about that. Here's what I knew though. This is a 1,200% annual supply expansion rate, and the chart is in an uptrend. To be clear, if you guys didn't believe me about how fucking deflationary these tokenomics are. Also, Pega, if you didn't hear the announcement, I'm about to airdrop Genesis V1. So that's like another fucking gigantic chunk of emissions all on the same day. Are you guys aware? It's like that will be a significant chunk. It might be like a 20% increase in total supply or higher. I have no idea. Yeah. So our token, Pyre Gas, Pyre Phantom, Pyre BNB, Pyre AVAX, is able to sustain a 1,200% annual supply expansion rate during, man, this marker fell off. During uptrend. Do you guys see that? Again. Yes. Again. We're able to sustain a 1,200%. I don't know if you guys know this, but like the type of inflation that is crippling economies right now is like less than 100%, right? I want to say Turkey is like 80% inflation, right? I think United States, 20%, 30% inflation. Do you guys get what I'm saying? Do you guys get it? So when I talk about like how powerful this bank is, stream is lagging, okay. Lagging on what platform, if you don't mind me asking? And I think that we normally have like a few seconds of delay on the stream. Is it on Twitter or is it on like Twitch? Okay. It might be on your end, Mehmet. Anyways, the type of inflation, 20%, 30%, that's literally like just absolutely rocking countries. Does that make sense? PYRESWAP, the GPSE, is able to deal with 1,200%, setting up annual supply expansion rate. I think that the US dollar was like a 50% surge. It was like a 50% surge in like the year 2020. And then like not so much since then, right? Okay, it's normal now. Fantastic. During an uptrend, we're still able to maintain a 1,275% annual supply expansion rate. Are we clear? We're not going to do this annually. Our Genesis ends in January. Does that make sense? Genesis will last till January. But the fact of the matter is that if we were going to do this for a full year, this is the annual supply expansion rate that we can suffer it. Does that make sense? Like we're still expanding supply during this uptrend. Does that make sense? Right? So I hope that answers questions to Pega and Jeff. Like, this uptrend is still supply expansion, but we are effectively deflationary from the fact that we have multiple variables that create inflation and deflation, right? Again, inflation, mint and sell, deflation, buy and burn. My apologies. I guess it would be burn. Yeah, hang on. Let me write it like this. Burn and buy. Does that make sense? So I'm in fact just kind of examining, like, minting and selling. Like, we're looking at the product of this, which is inflation, and like burning and buying, we're looking at the product of this, which is deflation. Does that make sense? Like, so understand that when you burn a little bit, it makes the token more scarce, and when you buy the bit, it increases the demand. Does that make sense? It's just the way that this works on supply and demand. Right? Okay, so like again, assuming this is zero, assuming this is demand, right? So this is demand right here. And this is supply. Okay, so demand being high, yeah, on this matrix, yeah, demand being high and supply being low will pull price up. Did I get this right? It's always worried to me. I'm always worried if I'm gonna draw it mirrored. Let's see, supply goes. No, I got it wrong. Yeah, okay. Supply. Yep. Yeah, okay. Demand is going up. Yeah, okay. Demand is going up while supply is going up. Is keeping price up while quantity remains the same. Yeah, that makes sense. Price goes up when supply goes down. Yeah, okay. This is just reversed. Yeah, demand goes up and supply goes down. Okay, fuck it. Anyways, the point being here is that we affect the outcome of this, right? When we deflate, we're bringing supply down and demand up. And when we inflate, we're bringing demand down and supply up. Did I say that right? Damn. Burn and buy is S down, demand up, mint and sell is supply up, demand down. Does that make sense? So I know that sometimes it can be hard to look at this product as the parameter because it floats. It's like a floating parameter. It's like the metric is a little bit more loose than maybe what you're used to thinking of being able to measure objectively. Yeah. Yes, Pega, yeah. Yeah, but honestly, like, this is already accelerating. I don't know if you guys noticed, but like even the PYRESWAP chart is like up 14% for some reason. It doesn't need to be up 14%. Oh, by the way, guys, I'm going to be doing an AMA with Dow King this week. Okay? We are doing an AMA with Dow King. Just letting you guys know now. Okay? Yeah, I think that some people may be buying the dip on purpose. By the way, the devs are, yeah. So I know for a fact that the devs have been buying the dip. So yeah, the devs were arguably in the best position to buy the dip. So I know for a fact that certain devs, well, there you go. Certain devs are buying like $10 every day right now. That's what one dev told me. Another dev told me he tucked a significant factor of his paycheck I'm not gonna keep getting into this. Anyway, yeah, the devs are fucking buying. Yeah. So now, guys, keep in mind a couple things that are happening, which could in fact tumble the chart. Tumble it. Okay. Okay. What are some things that could interrupt the chart right now? Interruptions. Hey, DCA is smart. I like that you guys are buying in and not being fucking lunatics about it. Yes. Yes, the airdrop. Airdrop is one of them. Well done, Dr. Matt. The airdrop. Now, I want you guys to know, yep, the airdrop sell-off. Yes, again, do you guys know what else we're doing? We are, in fact, top off of KOLs. So we are also sending money out to the KOLs that we effectively paid PYREGAS in the first place. We're topping them off of like their final payment. Granted, I'm paying them. Yeah, I'm paying them at the bottom, as it were. Do you guys know why? Dow King is a key opinion leader. So like influencers, Pega. Yeah. So Tim Malcolm, Dow King, the YouTubers. Yeah. Do you get what I'm saying? Kings of Leon. Anyways, so we are in fact final. Yeah, we are final paying those guys. Does that make sense? Yeah, Dr. Mike, I don't care. Yeah, we're airdropping the whole fucking thing. Yeah, I'm not worried that red candles will kill it. So yeah, I need to get this off the, like, I need to stop working on this and like go, yeah, like this is something that needs to be just completed. Not like, hey, can we like devote time to think about this every week? No, we're just gonna airdrop the whole amount. Like the worst thing that could happen is like a 20% or 30% contraction in price in a day. Yeah, we're gonna fucking send the whole amount. Yeah, at most maybe half of them will sell. I don't know. Yeah, exactly. So I would say that like you can expect there to be a dip, but maybe a dip won't happen because the fact of the matter is, we just did. Do you guys not know? Yeah. We just did like down 99% twice. Does that make sense to you guys? Like we went down 99% twice in July and August. Are you guys aware? Right? Well, did it kill us? Did it kill us? Okay. So now we'll just go up. Okay? So like I don't like for us doing this airdrop, it'll be like maybe a 30, like the worst, like the most apocalyptic it would be like 50%. I don't know if you guys noticed how much is Pyre Phantom up since the fucking deflation? How much is Pyre Phantom up? Do you guys know? In dollars and in Phantom. In dollars, it's up double. So Pyre Phantom is already plus 100%. There you go. In a week or two, maybe 9 days. So Pyre Phantom is up 100% in 9 days. I don't care if it drops like half of that backtracks on next weekend, right? In theory, Pyre Phantom might be up another 100% next week, right? Before we do the airdrop. Do you guys get what I'm saying? Jeff, I only look at the charts like I glance at them now just to like make sure that like my theoretics are still correct. Yeah. But Jeff, a lot of people again are, the chart is like their source of truth, right? Yeah, well, 0x exactly. But the fact of the matter is that I still need to do it in order to say I'm a man of my word. I'm not gonna DCA the airdrop in. I'm just gonna give them their fucking money. If they want to leave, like, please leave. Does that make sense? Because like if they do sell, they're the exact same person that's not gonna make it anyway, right? Yeah, Pega, a lot of people are doing that. The time to begin compounding, yes, the time to begin compounding, by the way, is when the PYREGAS tokens reach the meeting threshold again. That's my opinion. Does that make sense? Jeff, what a great question. I do not know. Yeah. So I would say, like, I don't know if you guys get it. If you look at our liquidity right now, by the way, let's screen share a little bit. You guys can see. Can I get a screen share on the screen, Mr. Producer? Okay, so we're here on Pyre Phantom, right? And I know Pyre Phantom is like 70% of you guys. So if we hit auto or whatever, and we zoom out like this, maybe let's make it less dramatic. So right here, this was the September 6th bottom. This is in dollars. So that was in about 1/9 of a penny. We were at we were at 0011, right? And now today we are at 0023. Okay, do you guys see it? Great question, Doc. So basically speaking, as you're doing it now, effectively you are in fact, you're not going to be able to, when they're at the meeting threshold. By the way, do you guys see this? I'm gonna answer Dr. Mack's question in a second because it's a good one. But do you guys see this right here? That is up 100% since the 6th. Today's the 15th, so 9 days. Do you guys see it? Up 100% in 9 days? Everybody see it? Do I need to beat that horse to death? Okay. On Phantom, by the way, and on TWAP, it's up maybe like 55%. By the way, because Phantom rallied. Did you guys see that? So Phantom rallied. So TWAP is up like, I want to say 55%. Something like that. Did you guys know that? So when Phantom rallies, it's like our 100%. Do you guys remember me talking about how like red candles can be good? Well, in this example, a green candle on Phantom seems like it can be bad. Does that make sense? It's like, oh, it actually can diminish your gain on your peg. Do you get what I'm saying? But granted, it's still 55% in 9 days. Okay, so talking about compounding at the meeting threshold, we're going to talk about cross lambda coefficient. So you can compound now if you want. You can compound now. It's still going to be useful because, by the way, right now is a great time to be in the farms. And do you guys know why? Because APR is worth what? It's the price of the token. I'm just going to write QTY here. So right now, if you guys don't know this, during this deflationary uptrend, the farms literally go up in APR every day. So like they go up and they stay up. Does that make sense? So if it's like, I know they're tiny compared to where we launched. Let's see where we launched. Let's go and look at the fucking farm. So if you see here that there's a 20% or a 23%, or here's a 260 or a 225, these APRs are now going up every day. Does that make sense? So if you think that APR of like 149 is like not sustainable, right now you could go deploy PyroPhantom Z-Ohm and you would actually end up making more than 149% because every day the quantity is going up and the price continues to clamber upwards. Do you guys understand what I'm saying? Do you? Do you guys understand? Okay. All right. Back to Dr. Matt's question. Why is it better to compound at the meeting threshold? So it's just about deploying liquidity, like when you want to deploy liquidity optimally, okay? So the fact of the matter is right now, there is advantage in deploying liquidity now, right? You can get more APR, right? And in fact, the APR is going up, so there's advantage. But if you're going to deploy a lot, Doc, let's say if you wanted to deploy like, I don't know, $5,000 of fucking token or 10,000 of the PyroGas token as you collect it, literally right now, you're going to be able, okay, let's put it this way. Let's go and look at the Mead screen here. So we have 2 ohm. Let me change our marker again. So we have 2 ohm at 0.08 TWAP, right? You guys agree? And 3 ohm right here is at 0.08 as well, right? And Z-ohm is at like 12 or something like that. What is it? 13, okay. Right, and PyroPhantom though is at 0.04. .004. Okay, so right now, effectively, do you remember the concept of impermanent loss, Dr. Mack? or I guess what actually really call cross lambda coefficient. Yep. So the value add of being in liquidity is getting the swap fees. Does that make sense? Like the optimality of the position of being in liquidity is that I'm gonna get swap fees from volume. Well, believe it or not, right now the price action is outpacing the volume. Does that make sense? The price action is outpacing the volume. Does that make sense? So like what I mean is price is climbing at a rate faster than we're actually getting volume, right? Like we get like a few $100s or whatever, or like a few thousand, but that's not like the same difference as price going up, right? Like price going up is doing way more right now than our actual transaction volume. Does that make sense? Because like the time, the real time to deploy volume is like, the best time to deploy volume is like when they're at fucking parity, because right now PYREPHANTOM is going to go up a lot and 2-ohm is going to go up a little. Does that make sense? Like so it's like 2-ohm might climb to the point where while this time gets there, yeah, PYREPHANTOM, as PYREPHANTOM goes up in value, it helps put buy pressure on 2-ohm. So PYREPHANTOM and 2-ohm might touch at like 0.10 TWAP. Does that make sense? So 2-ohm is going to climb up very slowly, but PYREPHANTOM is going to climb up very, very quickly, right? The fact of the matter is that when they get to this price, how are they going to behave again? Depends on meeting, yes, but Jeff, we definitely know that meeting will eventually happen, right? Like PYREPHANTOM keeps climbing up, and meeting's going to happen, right? Does everybody understand? Like it's you know, when we talk about needing 300 users for PYRESWAP, one thing we definitely don't need 300 people for is fucking meeting. Does that make sense? Like 3 guys will literally just fucking do all the meeting. Yes, exactly. Exactly. But the fact of the matter is, do you guys understand vertical money and horizontal money? Have I talked about this before? Okay. When we talk about this supply and demand, and we talk about this this XY equals K curve, right? You gotta understand what demand is for one, supply is in the other. Does that make sense? So if we're talking about, like, let's say Bitcoin against ETH, does that make sense? When you have this in LP, you're just measuring the value of the other token using the other token as your fucking reference. Does that make sense to you guys? So the fact of the matter is, the best, like when you're looking for vertical money, this is price, and horizontal money, this is quantity. So right now, the reason why it might make more sense to hold emissions of liquid and wait for them to touch is because the vertical money for PYREPHANTOM right now is going to outweigh the horizontal money that you would get in LP. Does that make sense? Do you guys understand what I'm saying? So the best time to deploy liquidity is when you know horizontal money is going to start happening again. And how do you guys know horizontal money is going to start happening again? Exactly, because meeting drives volume in that pair. Does that make sense? On top of that, Dr. Mack, not only does meeting increase the horizontal volume, but it also creates resistance. Does that make sense? So you know your vertical money is going to have a fucking resistance there at the meeting threshold, and you also know horizontal money is going to go up. Does that make sense? So like, if you think about this, right now PYREPHANTOM is going to literally climb up a lot by itself. Do you know what's not going to go up 5% a day? 2-ohm. 2-ohm is not going to go up 5% a day. Does that make sense? So if you were in fact just deploying LP right now, you would in fact have a suboptimal return, because deepening liquidity is going to make the token go up less fast. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Like, you don't need to deepen liquidity right now to make the price go up. right? In fact, it being drier liquidity gives it higher price impact. Make sense? So the fact of the matter is, what we're really looking for here, and by the way, we don't have that much liquidity. What do we have? We've got fucking $3,500. I want you guys to understand something. $3,500 here is great. Because do you know what's going to happen when we get to the meeting threshold? We're going to have six-figure liquidity pools across the board. Do you guys get what I'm saying? And six-figure liquidity pools are capable of handling meeting and not getting fucking hammered to the floor. Do you guys get what I'm saying? Like, do you guys see 3,500? Okay, we have a market cap of 52 grand and a liquidity pool of 3,500 bucks. Does that make sense? But you think it's like right here, right over on the screen. Liquidity of 3,500 and a market cap of 52,000. But by the time we get to the meeting thresholds, these liquidity pools are worth 100 grand. Does that make sense? And then by the way, our TVL is going to be 7 figures. Do you guys get what I'm saying? Wow, how do we come up with this money? Don't ask. Like, I tried to explain my magic before, but yeah, we will increase the shit out of the TVL on the DEX if we deploy liquidity at the right thresholds. So right now we know Pyre Phantom is just going to be going up. Does that make sense? It is literally just going to be trending upwards. Electronic, you're more than welcome to. And by the way, I would expect you to, because I know you're a huge emissions whale. Does that make sense? So like, what I'm saying is, if you right now everybody is holding their emissions at liquid. Does that make sense? Like all the major larger GPSC backers, they're holding emissions at liquid. Everybody is. Does that make sense? That's also, by the way, that's also why I'm not scared of the airdrop. Does that make sense? Because like the people that are gonna sell are like smaller players. Do you guys know what I mean? Like they were never gonna make it in the first place. Make sense? Or like they stopped farming in Genesis V1. Yeah, I believe it, Electronic. Yeah, exactly. So the fact of the matter is though, this $3,500 pair, when we get it to fucking 0.10, it's suddenly we're gonna be like, oh shit, we have fucking 100 grand in liquidity, and now that we have 100 grand in liquidity, more capital can come in, and on top of that, the meterage will be fucking crazy. Does that make sense? Like people will be, again, do you remember Fexer and those guys? Like during Genesis, the first week, they were literally like goddamn stampede meeting. Do you guys remember that shit? Like people were tripling their money off meterage. Do you guys remember this? Okay, yeah. So people will be able to do that again, and it's going to agitate the whole fucking DEX. Like we're just going to be, yeah, we're going to be translating volume throughout the whole fucking DEX. Does that make sense? And then literally like that. Exactly. So not only is that going to make the 2 ohm and 3 ohm prices start fucking climbing up as well, but however, it makes Pyre Phantom go down. So the fact of the matter is that even though we're net deflationary, right? Even though we're net deflationary, do you remember me saying what are a couple things that could interrupt the uptrend? Who here was beta testing with me in February and March? What would interrupt the uptrend back during open beta when we launched open beta? Yeah, me? Yes, so maybe Electronic answers this question. Who here knows what would it be? Yes, exactly. So the fact of the matter is you're gonna hit resistance. Even though Pyre Phantom, Pyre BNB, and Pyre AVAX are, you know, 1 step, 2 step climbing up, what's going to happen is they're going to hit their meeting thresholds and they're no longer going to have that same buoyancy. Does that make sense? Let me actually look at fucking BNB real quick. Okay, so DIBS is still at 0.33. Okay, so Pyre BNB, yeah, Pyre BNB will have a much. You guys can literally watch this happen again. Does that make sense? Because Pyre BNB, you're literally gonna watch it continue to go all the way up to the price of DIBS. Does that make sense? Pyre Phantom will have to fucking get back to work when we touch 2 ohm, 3 ohm, and Z ohm. But Pyre BNB will be able to go all the way up to fucking. Yeah, that's like, let's see, that's like a 100x. Is that right there? Yeah. Pyre BNB 100x's before the midline happens. That's a small 100x. And now you know. You know, Dibs, I think it just might have that memory. Yeah, Dibs just might have that memory. Yeah, I have no idea why. Yeah. I think, again, it's just because it's small. Yeah, Dibs is just small enough that it just kind of like, it can hold there. I have no idea why. Yeah, it's okay. Like, I don't care. Like, I don't really, I'm not too worried about it. When Dibs starts printing again, that little memory line of resistance or support might go away. Because if Dibs prints a whole bunch, you know, post-peg or whatever, but when PYREBNB touches Dibs, support, I know what you mean, support resistance. When PYREBNB touches Dibs, it might begin like actually stepping them both all the way to peg. Does that make sense? It's like you're going to have this, imagine that you have this clambering uptrend, but it's getting exponential, right? You guys right now are getting comfortable buying more and more. You guys yourself are getting comfortable buying more and more, right? As you see more and more days of uptrend, you're like, does that make sense? Like your cortisol is going away. I want you guys to notice how low stress you are. Like as a community, you guys are very low stress now. We have now had 9 days of uptrend, at least on Pyre Phantom. A little less on the other two, right? Your cortisol levels are down. You are in fact beginning to salivate again. Does that make sense? I'm just explaining the way this works, right? I'm explaining the way you work. Eventually, we're gonna hit that me line, and it's not gonna go like this anymore. Does that make sense? We're actually gonna have this fucking chaotic type of fucking, like, I'll tell you this, it's my goal that we're able to market this before we hit midline. Do you guys get what I'm saying? Like we have like let's see if we can get a few hundred users before we hit midline, and then we're gonna have more of like, meeting can also interrupt uptrend. Now I want you guys to understand something. The meeting cannot interrupt uptrend forever. Does that make sense to you guys? Do you guys get it? Like a meeting does not interrupt uptrend forever, but it can interrupt it for like a few epochs. Do you guys understand? Yeah, so you'll see it interrupt. You'll see that it has to consolidate. It has to kind of like find its bearings again. Indeed. I want to say the velvet row pattern is going to be more of like, the velvet row pattern is kind of interrupted by the VRP2 actually. Yeah, exactly, Maddie. Yeah, exactly. Because when meeting happens, what did we just do? We hyperinflated the fuck out of Pyre Phantom. Not for a lot, but it's a small epoch of hyperinflation. Does that make sense? It's actually way smaller now. Do you guys get what I'm saying? Let's look at the total supplies. Let's look at total supplies. Okay, let's look at total supplies of on the Phantom side. TE broke. Yeah, by the way, TE broken, right? Okay, here's what we might get implemented tomorrow. Let me do the total supply first, and then I'll talk about TE. 2 ohm, Z ohm total supply, right? Z ohm has fucking 48 million, right? 3 ohm. 3 ohm is 13.8 million. And 2 ohm is 5.7 million, right? Okay. All right. So, what is the amount of meterage that is permitted in a single epoch? Does anyone know? And we'll write Pyre Phantom up here too. 22 million. 22.1 million. 1%, yes, 1% of total supply. So the fact of the matter is, the total amount of hammering that meterage can now do to any of these 3 tokens, right? 48 million. 48 million becomes how much? Like, let's see. What's 1% of 48 million? 48,000? See, hang on. 4.8 million, 480,000, right? 480K, thank you. 480K. So this is 480K. We'll do 1% here. This is 13.8 million, which would be 138K, right? And 2 ohm would be 57,000. Yeah, I focus more on ordinal math, to be honest. So the point being here, if you understand that this 480K is actually more like, let's see, let's think about the actual fucking difference. First of all, This 1% here is 57,000. Let's be clear. So 2 ohm equals, mead 2 ohm equals 57,000 of Pyre Phantom. Now for meeting fucking 3 ohm, it's actually 13.8 thousand, right? Right? Because now you got to fucking shave off a 10, right? You got to go by 10. Going here, it's actually 4.8 thousand. Does that make sense to you guys? So do you guys see how big these, like think of the biggest swings of the hammer these tokens now can do to this total supply. Does that make sense? So 57,000 out of 22 million. This is now 1/5, sorry, 1/4 of 1%. Does that make sense? So 2 ohms ability to affect Pyre Phantom's total supply is now 1/4 of 1%. So what 1%, here's what I'm getting at here. One percent of 2 ohm total supply is now equal to 0.25% Pyre Phantom total supply. Does that make sense? We have made Pyre Phantom a bigger, it has a larger coin bigness once they get back to meterage. Do you guys understand? We will need deeper liquidity for sure, but that's the whole fucking point of being at the meeting line. Does that make sense? Right? So 1% of 2 ohm is now 0.25. So like this is the hardest Pyre Phantom can get hit in a single epoch. Do you guys understand? Now that we have a fucking total supply of 22 million, right? 1% to fucking quarter. So what that means is the price impact, in theory, again, this, in order for this to be roughly proportional, we need to have roughly proportional liquidity deployed. Does that make sense? Right now, I think 2 ohms still beats Pyre Phantom in liquidity. But the fact of the matter is, what this means is that if 2 ohm meteraging is able to reduce Pyre Phantom by 1%, it'll pump itself by 4%. Does that make sense to you guys? Do you guys get it? When this happens? Do you guys understand what I'm saying? Because this is now 4x. Right? So now 2 ohm will get helped more than it's able to hurt Pyre Phantom. Everybody still follow me? So what that means is we'll be able to repeg the tomb forks with velocity. Do you guys get it? Does that make sense? Because 1% of 2 ohms total supply, you're burning this to mint only this much. So Pyre Phantom will just be Veloce, Pyre Phantom will just be able to tank the hits. Does that make sense? Pyre Phantom needed to be stronger so it could literally just like glance a meterage from 2 ohm. Do you guys understand what I'm saying? Yeah, big enough, exactly. Yeah, it needs to be resilient and strong enough. So therefore now it finally is, but we need to get total supply into actual liquidity. Now, it actually is in liquidity right now. Like total supply is there, right? But now the price has to go up until they get back to parity. Anyways, so okay, back to the TE question. Do you guys have any other questions here? I'm gonna go back to what CJ said. Any other questions here about total supply? And do you guys see that 1% of 2 ohm will now be only 1/4 of this because we've now grown big enough? Have you guys all seen this diagram where I draw it like a fucking galaxy? I really like that it's exactly 1/4 of a point. That's a very, like, by the way, 3 ohm and Z ohm would be smaller than 1/4 of a point. Do you guys know what I mean? Like 3 ohm is 13.8, so it's like fucking 1/4, it's like 1/4 of that. And then Z ohm is like another 1/3 of that. So like Z ohm is like 1/12. Z ohm would be like 0.02% in a single epoch. Do you guys understand? Like Xeon will meet and nobody will even notice. Like people will be fucking gassing the shit out of Xeon meterage and like, Xeon will fucking moon over it and like Pyre Phantom will just not notice it at all. Are you guys aware? Yeah, think about like This one right here, this quarter point, that's how big fucking 2 ohm is. The other ones are smaller. Just making it clear. Okay, so back to the TE thing. Okay, guys, right now, the summoning circle. Do you guys know about the summoning circle? Who here knows what the summoning circle is? It is a contract, yes. The summoning circle is one of the key contracts in the incantation sequence. Did you guys know that? What? Believe it or not, Maddie, it's not the buy-in. Well, actually, I think it does that too. But yeah, no, there is no actual. Well, the burning. Yeah, the burning comes from you guys. Yeah, we do like a. Anyways, okay. Point being is, do you guys know what it actually does? It withdraws LP. It withdraws LP tokens. Sells for phantom. Or should I say gas? Oh, hang on. Okay. Yes. Fantastic. Thank you, Mr. Producer. Yeah, but believe it or not, he is in both servers. Yep. Okay, so Summoning Circle withdraws LB tokens, it sells for Phantom, and then does what? What does it do? Sells Phantom for Pyre Phantom. Then it takes that Pyre Phantom and then it distributes it to you guys, right? It actually parks it in the meat address for 6 hours. Did you guys know this? Are you guys aware? So the summoning circle is just really one component of the IWV. The meat address has a part there too. So it's like the summoning circle, like the meat address, and the IWV, like those 3 contracts, along with the epoch controller itself. Like those are like the 4 main like mechanisms here. Okay. So the summoning circle right now, what it does is it withdraws 50% of the LP it collects as swap fees. Does that make sense? So this right now, what it does is it withdraws 50% of the swap fees. Does that make sense to you guys? Yes? So with that, do you guys know how this works? So swap fees are collected in the K token itself. CJ, I'm going to tell you exactly. Yeah. Literally, yeah, this is literally what it does. So when swap fees are too small, it fails to cut it in half. Does that make sense? So it fails to cut it in half. And when it fails to cut it in half, the incantation misfires. Does that make sense? It's like, hey, we did not find ammo, we can't shoot. Does that make sense? Do you guys all follow me? So, right now, one of the reasons this is happening is because we have low volume, right? And that could be, in fact, because people withdrew liquidity during hyperinflation or whatever, or we just don't have enough background arbitrage liquidity on the Avalanche side specifically. But now you're noticing it happens on all 3 chains, right? Would you guys notice it happens on all 3 chains? Right? We're having epoch, like the transfer epoch, get hung up. Yes? Okay. So, we will probably implement this tomorrow. We're going to implement this tomorrow. We're going to try it out for a week. Okay? We're going to try this out for a week. I want you to know, when the epoch used to miss fire, we went from 75% to 50%. Does that make sense? In fact, in order to make it a partial withdrawal, we actually implemented the ability to plug in a percent. So, starting tomorrow, likely, we're going to go from 50% to 25% across all three chains. Now, in theory, this means we are, in fact, having the reward, potentially, in the incantation witch falls. Does that make sense? But we'll be able to make it more consistently fire. Does that make sense? So right now, the reason I feel comfortable doing this is because this is exactly the type of sandbox that I think the channelers could use. Does that make sense? Yeah, looking at you, Maddie. Looking at you, Seabiscuit. Does that make sense? So right now, the reward is getting halved. At the same time, understand it's getting halved in a token that's going up between 2 and 10% every day. Does that make sense to you guys? So yeah, you can think of it like 1%, or you can think of it like whatever you want, right? Do you guys understand what I'm saying? So we are going to make it so that it's smoother, like the epoch system is smoother, but it's going to make it so that it's more likely to have actual reserves to send out. Does that make sense to you guys? Yep. So we're gonna try it out for a week, and I think when we do this, you'll notice a significant drop off. And here's the great news: this is still going to Us doing this, by the way, does in fact have the buy pressure of the incantation. Does that make sense? It does have the buy pressure of the incantation, but it's still consistently there. Does that make sense? So I want you to understand is that this does, in order to make the transpire epoch a little bit smoother, we are in fact tapering deflation a little bit as well. So we're gonna see what happens. In fact, now that I think about it, I might push it off until after the airdrop. But no, I think you guys want the fucking transpire epoch thing to work, right? So here's what we'll do. We're gonna try it out for the week and see if it fucking goes into a downtrend. I don't think it will, but we'll find out, right? We'll see if deflation tapering from this, because this effectively has deflation. All the money still ends up going. Does that make sense? So it's like it just puts less buy pressure over time. Like we don't lose the amount of fees we're collecting because we're still buying all the token with it, but it's just like more consistently buying. Does that make sense? It's more like a DCA in the deflation. Do you guys get what I'm saying? So it still has the same net buy pressure over time, but the buy pressure per epoch is lower, therefore the yield is lower. Make sense to you guys? So we're gonna find out. If it goes to if 25% is too low, we might do like 35% or 40%. Try to find some common ground. And arguably, what we might just need, like what really needs to happen, is just we need a few $1,000 more in like the fucking blue chip pairs on AVAX and stuff like that. Yeah, it's not really that fucking crazy. And arguably, this is a problem that goes away either way as the token price keeps climbing up. Does that make sense? Because what you can always do, by the way, if you want to sell some emissions, is fucking compound into the blue chip pairs. Does that make sense to you guys? In fact, I might do that with the fucking with the house wallet maybe on Friday. Yeah. Make sense to you guys? Yeah, it's still temporary. Yeah, Maddie, we can always bring it back to 50%. If that makes sense. Do you get what I'm saying? But like, yeah, we might just do this to see if like this is the problem and this will make it go away, because it's still completely functional, and the fact of the matter is this way the summoning circle has more reserves. Yeah. Hope that makes sense to you guys. I think that, by the way, a lot of people are buying speculatively now because of uptrend, and that might just keep it an uptrend as well. Does that make sense? Yeah, and like again, we're gonna do a fucking AMA. I'm doing an AMA with Dow King sometime this week. More news on that later. Let's see. Any other questions? A lot of good questions today. You know, if the fucking if tapering this brings us into a downtrend, one of the things we could do is also taper down from 0.7. Like we could go for like to 0.5. You know what I mean? Right, or 0.4, something like that. Do you guys get what I'm saying? But at least the good news here is that we're gonna really get to like dial in the experimentation of like what affects inflation and deflation here. Anyways, okay, so I'm trying to think, was there anything else to talk about? Oh yeah, guys, we have a TikTok username. We have a TikTok username. It's PYRESWAP.com. If you guys use TikTok, please follow PYRESWAP.com. We're gonna get this account spinning up soon. Does that make sense? This is our username, PYRESWAP.com. Also, you guys, if you are not aware, we are in fact continuing to spin up this our awareness campaign for Reddit, which, by the way, I think is getting smoother and smoother, and I think some people are really catching on. And by the way, guys, there is a post in there, and I don't know if Pega's on this PYRESWAP show, but we do need we could use a third person to round off this latest post. And I want you guys to understand, it's like our goal to get like 100 of these complete. We can do 100 of these as rapidly as possible. Does that make sense? But like having 100 of these is, I think, when we finally see it start really generating awareness, because we will have at that point have spun up enough rumors where people start figuring out that, hey, this product I keep hearing about in the comment section also has an uptrend, and it also has fucking a lively Discord and or Twitter. Make sense to you guys? So if you guys could join, even if you're not good at writing, you can always support with upvoting. Does that make sense? Even if you're not good with writing, you can just support with upvoting. Also follow PYRESWAP.com. We'll have a Facebook and Instagram for this as well, because you need to for the sake of Reels. More on that later. Yep. We do have a Facebook page, but it's like nothing's there yet. I think we need to connect an Instagram, but I was having trouble with it before. Yep. And then, yeah, we're going to use the PYRESWAP show and some man on the street content. By the way, more of that coming. I believe we might be going on the street today. And, yes, I don't know. Are you guys bullish? Are you guys excited? Are you guys happy? Yeah, do you guys see it all? By the way, guys, this is like a 95% chance this is the lowest price you'll ever see for Pyre gas again. Does that make sense? Yeah, this is like a 95%. This is the lowest price it ever could go. And I mean like above 95, really. Like in theory, like maybe a fucking nuclear bomb could go off in the future, and maybe you could see that like all things crash, and then like we would overswing that. But like, yeah, so I don't really rule out like a nuclear weapon going off. But like, yeah, there's a solid 95% chance that this is the lowest you'll ever see these tokens again. Yeah, like the Turkish investors are fine. Yeah, they are continuing to be bullish now. They see green candles. Yeah, yeah. More on that later. We're waiting for the sticker pictures to come in, and yeah. Yeah, by the way, I'm still committed to a fucking billboard in Istanbul. Yeah, we'll definitely, I think around the time we hit the meeting threshold, I think we'll be capitalized enough to get a billboard in Istanbul. Yeah, does that make sense to you guys? By the time we hit the meeting threshold? Yeah, so we'll be able to fucking make an investment there. But yeah, as of right now, I'm still continuing to scrape YouTubers, and we're going to have our own in-house awareness mechanisms running, and then we'll accent that with YouTubers, and more on that later. Okay, let me see. All right, well, this is the 56-minute mark. Does anyone have any questions? Oh, hi there, Michael Bio on Kick. Yes, Michael. Do you have any questions? Does anybody on Kick or Twitch or any of the other platforms have questions? Yeah. Do you mean like the Tomb Fork tokens? Those won't grow until we hit meeting threshold. Yeah, like they might grow a little bit. Yeah. Yeah. Do you mean Pyre Gas? Because Pyre Gas is definitely growing. Yeah, like Pyre Phantom is up 100% in the last 9 days. Yeah, I think Pyre BNB and Pyre AVAX will lag it a little bit, but like, I don't. Yeah, nothing. There's nothing happening to Pyre Phantom other than maybe like people like Phantom better because the gas is cheap or whatever, or they're nostalgic about 2 ohm or 2 share. But yeah, like there's nothing. Yeah, I mean, is it not up? I think today, yeah. Yeah, do you guys look at this differently than me? I guess Pyre Phantom is down 2%, but is up 1%. Yeah, you're in an uptrend. You've been more up. Yeah. Yeah, like what is that? Let's see. As of the 6th, our bottom was like the 6th. That was at least for the other ones. We were at 1.6. Okay. What was the lowest here? The lowest here was 1.5. Okay, so you're up 33% in 5 days, 6 days, 7 days. Yeah, need peg. Yeah, okay. Yeah, Abolito. Yeah, it's going to be a lot easier to climb the peg now with a larger bigness of the other coins. Yeah, Garage. I think that a lot of people just have never seen this shit before in Web3. So, like, everybody has this fucking... I need people to understand this stuff, okay? The experience that Web3 investors have with Web3 investment is garbage experience. Does that make sense? So like a lot of people are like, you know, I'm pretty savvy with this whole crypto thing. I know how a launch is supposed to go. I know how a token's supposed to go. They don't know shit because they have a lot of experience with garbage. Does that make sense to you guys? So it's like, if I were to describe to you a fucking diamond mine, right? And you're like, oh yeah, I've dug around in a hole before. I've dug around in a dark hole. I know how I know how digging around in a dark hole is supposed to go. And it's like, no, you really have no idea. Like the GPSE, like right now, you guys, this exact minute, the GPSE is the most economically robust mega dApp. PYRESWAP is the most economically robust dApp in Web3. Buying in right now is like buying into the fucking economy of the United States before World War II. Do you guys understand? It's like getting to buy into the economy of the United States during the Great Depression. And then holding it through the fucking baby boom, the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Do you guys get what I'm saying? It's an economy. The GPSE is a fucking economy. Okay? I know how players are supposed to go. Aren't they supposed to pump and everybody fucking dies when the... You don't know fucking shit. Like, again, like, you don't have a paradigm for this. You don't have a paradigm. Like this is not fucking trash crypto. Okay? This is real DeFi. Yeah, like you don't have like, oh yeah, I'm experienced. You don't. They're not. They think they are. They're risk averse. They're fucking cowards because they've been abused by the incompetent. Does that make sense? They have followed people who are unqualified to lead. Do you guys understand? They have followed people who are unqualified to lead. They are traumatized. Does that make sense? I want you guys to understand something. Imagine if you were imagine if every woman you ever dated arguably it would be better to say like, okay, Imagine if every woman imagine if every person you ever dated, let's say you dated 10 people, fucking physically attacked you. Seabiscuit, I'm not gonna ask. No, yeah. Imagine, no, yeah. Yeah, but literally that's like, let's say like every woman you ever dated stabbed you. Does that make sense? They stabbed you, right? Or they fucking poisoned you when you were sleeping. Does that make sense? And then you went and said, yeah, okay. I knew that this was the wrong question to ask. Okay, but understand that that's not real experience. That's just trauma that happened to you. Does that make sense to you guys? I swear to God, yeah, the comment section on this stream is definitely, out of all finance and economics-based shows, we definitely go in a certain direction here. Anyways, that's not experience, that's trauma. Does that make sense? People experience trauma and they make their worldview out of it. Does that make sense? It's like, imagine if every time, okay. Imagine if during your first 2 thunderstorms, you got struck by lightning both times. Does that make sense? So if you got struck by lightning both times, you're now going to believe that every thunderstorm is going to strike you by lightning. Right? It's going to lightning strike you. Do you guys understand what I'm saying? Like, your attitude towards thunderstorms would be like, oh, that's when they hit you by lightning. You better get inside right now. Does that make sense? It's not like the rain is actually the more fucking dangerous part. But the fact of the matter is, like, DeFi investors literally have PTSD and they are conditioned to garbage. They are conditioned to pump and dump meme coins. They are conditioned to honeypots again and again and again. Does that make sense? And because they're so conditioned, like, they end up evaluating everything like that's the world they live in. Does that make sense? They can't differentiate because they're not aware of how they've been conditioned. They're not aware of how they've been conditioned. Anyways, yeah, like having any type of paradigm like, red candles will kill the project. Oh no, too many red candles. Like, that is just one false god that we have the ability to just smash that statue. Like, I don't know if you guys understand. Like, again, like, I'm really glad you guys can see it when we have a user base of less than 100. We have a user base of less than 100 people, and red candles can't kill the project. We went down 99% twice, and red candles can't kill a project. CJ, yeah, no, CJ, it's not about keeping it quiet. Yeah, it's not about keeping it quiet. Yeah. Yeah, like, again, like, arguably, like, it's this is only there to rescue them from themselves. Yeah. This is literally about, like, it's not even what's in it for me, CJ. Okay, do you know that we have 15,000 unique wallets in the GPSE? We have 15,000 unique wallets. Like, all I can think about is, like, all I have to do is, like, literally grab 15,000 people by the ear and, like, have them point to this so they can stop sabotaging themselves. Most humans, yeah, that's probably true. Most humans are, their lives are constructed by the way they make decisions. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Garage, you're correct. Garage, you're correct. But they're not aware of that. I'm not aware of that. And, yeah, again, it's okay. Anyways, point being, we can talk more about this later. I'll let you guys know if we're going to fucking taper the summoning circle down to 25%, because that may or may not affect deflation, but it'll probably be fine. And I'll make that announcement tomorrow. And I have an AMA with Dow King sometime this week. I don't know what date yet. Talk to you guys later. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, Mr. Producer, for taking me out with this great outro. Do you guys know there's music in this outro? I just learned that the other day. I'm kidding. Anyways, thank you guys so much for coming to the PYRESWAP show. Have a great...